All but 8 West Virginia counties now declining in population. This according to new data released by the U.S. Census Bureau.
Pulling out of the Paris Accords give you hope for the mining industry?
No, I honestly think mining's done.
There's a lot of other stuff surrounding the coal industry that's going to be hard to bring it back.
Finally tonight, it could be your new home, or make that homes plural. An entire town up for auction with a starting bid of $1 million. A secluded locale that already has just about everything you'd find in most towns, except, of course, neighbors.
Today, we explore the stark economic disparities between Loudoun County, Virginia, the wealthiest county in the United States, and West Virginia, a state grappling with decline and economic struggles. From million-dollar homes and luxury car dealerships to neglected towns and declining industries. Join us as we delve into the contrasting landscapes and factors shaping the fortunes of these two regions. Loudoun County, Virginia, stands out as the wealthiest county in the United States, surpassing Silicon Valley and New York. This suburban area near Washington, D.C., boasts the highest median household income in the nation, a substantial upper-middle-class workforce employed in lucrative desk jobs at government contractors such as Northrop Grumman, Raytheon Technologies, Newstar, and others drives its prosperity. As a result, the landscape is dotted with million-dollar homes, luxury car dealerships offering brands like Ferrari, McLaren, and Rolls Royce, as well as resorts, horse farms, and polo fields. However, what sets Loudoun County apart, particularly along its western border, is the stark contrast with the neighboring state of West Virginia. While the average household income in Loudoun County is a remarkable $157,000 per year, in West Virginia, it's significantly lower at less than $51,000. This juxtaposition underscores the economic disparities between the two regions. West Virginia's GDP per capita is among the lowest in the country at just $53,000. Poverty rates are high at 17.1%, and life expectancy is notably low at 74.7 years, comparable to Slovakia. Beyond the statistical measures, West Virginia has long grappled with a sense of decline and economic struggle. The population of West Virginia peaked around 1950 and has steadily declined since then, making it one of only 3 states experiencing shrinkage. This decline is notably accelerated because, unlike in other states, more deaths occur annually than births. Reports of self-perceived mental health in West Virginia have reached record lows, with studies showing that the 13 counties with the poorest mental health scores are all located within the state. This alarming trend is intertwined with widespread drug use, particularly opioids, with pharmaceutical sales reaching staggering levels. One area where these issues manifest most acutely is McDowell County, located in the southern part of the state. McDowell consistently ranks among the poorest counties in the nation, with per capita income as low as $14,000, akin to Panama. Life expectancy is also shockingly low, at just 70.4 years, comparable to Iraq. The county's population has dwindled drastically from its peak of 100,000 to a mere 18,000 today, resulting in neglected towns and a landscape marked by decay. Welch, the county seat of McDowell, epitomizes these challenges. Situated amidst rugged terrain, the town has adapted its street layout to conform to the contours of the surrounding rivers and mountains. The presence of a railway, following the path carved by the waterways, is the primary infrastructure that sustains Welch, allowing it to endure despite its geographic challenges. Before Welch, McDowell County, or southern West Virginia, became synonymous with lacking, falling behind, or standing out from the rest of the country. It was the railroad that positioned this region at the heart of American industrial prowess. As far back as before the Civil War, West Virginia's abundant coal resources were recognized, with the primary challenge being access and extraction. Initially, it was the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, running east-west, that linked the northern coal fields to markets in the Midwest and East. Subsequently, the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway followed suit, and towards the end of the century, the Norfolk and Western Railway completed the network, effectively opening up the state for economic activity. With efficient transportation in place, West Virginia's coal-rich areas experienced a significant boom, stretching from north to south. In just 30 years, from 1870 to 1900, the state's population nearly doubled from 440,000 to almost 1 million, while coal production skyrocketed from 600,000 tons to over 22 million tons annually, a nearly 40-fold increase. This surge in economic activity along the railways led to the rapid emergence of mining communities, company towns, and industrial hubs every few miles. McDowell County, previously slow to join the boom, became a key player, connected to the national rail network and home to the renowned Pocahontas coalfield. U.S. Coke and Coal, a subsidiary of U.S. Steel, established company towns like Gary to produce coke on site for shipment to steel mills in the Midwest. The Navy also recognized the quality of Pocahontas coal, using it as the preferred fuel for its ships, earning it the moniker smokeless coal, although relative to today's standards. Over time, working conditions improved with the rise of the labor movement, wages increased, and the transition from coal to oil as the preferred fuel for ships occurred. Despite these changes, McDowell, Welch, and the Pocahontas coal seams remained pivotal in driving American industry forward, symbolized by the role they played in powering Theodore Roosevelt's Great White Fleet and contributing to America's growing international influence throughout the 20th century. What remained constant was West Virginia's heavy reliance on coal mining as its primary economic driver. Between 1910 and 1950, McDowell's population surged from around 20,000 to nearly 100,000, with statewide coal production surpassing all competitors, totaling 144 million tons annually, almost 40 million tons more than Pennsylvania, the next highest producer. McDowell became the nation's top coal-producing county. However, shifts in post-war America saw diminished demand for coal from traditional users, leading to a slowdown in industries like steel and subsequently in demand for coke. Despite these challenges, West Virginia's mines adapted by turning to overseas export and power generation. As domestic coal-fired power plants faced pressure from environmental regulations, coal found new markets in energy-hungry countries like India. West Virginia's coal production peaked in 1997, but the connection between population, job creation, and production had long been severed. Mechanization played a significant role in this shift. In 1940, over 23 million tons of coal in McDowell County were mined and loaded by hand out of a total production of 25.5 million tons. By 1950, with the rapid adoption of cutting machines and conveyors, hand-mined coal plummeted to under 9 million tons out of nearly 21 million tons produced. This mechanization led to a decline in McDowell's population throughout the century, as the county's production became increasingly disconnected from its workforce. As the coal industry faced tighter margins with each pivot, cost-cutting measures became imperative. While operational and managerial roles remained solid middle-class jobs, they became scarcer over time, with no replacements emerging within McDowell County or West Virginia as a whole. While coal mining explains West Virginia's decline, it doesn't account for its inability to recover. While economic disparities exist in many rural areas of the United States, West Virginia's situation is uniquely dire. Why does West Virginia stand out? The West Virginia Department of Economic Development addressed this question in their 2022 development plan. They identified several factors contributing to the state's poverty, many of which formed a cyclical relationship: deteriorating infrastructure, limited broadband access, low educational attainment, poor health, and abandoned urban areas. Poverty, they noted, perpetuates itself in a vicious cycle, but every cycle has a starting point. The one factor cited that is solely a cause, not an effect, is geography. West Virginia boasts the least flat terrain in America, with only 12% of its land considered relatively flat, leading to a range of consequences. In rural America overall, the largest employment sector combines educational services, healthcare, and social assistance, which includes jobs like teachers, nurses, and caregivers that are present everywhere. Manufacturing ranks as the second largest rural economic sector, representing 12% of jobs outside of urban areas. However, in West Virginia, a predominantly rural state, manufacturing makes up just 7% of employment. This disparity is partly explained by the challenges manufacturers face in finding suitable locations for factories. The majority of the top manufacturing businesses highlighted by the West Virginia Department of Economic Development are situated along flat riverbanks, such as Rubber Light in downtown Huntington and Kingsford Charcoal along the North Branch of the Potomac River. Manufacturers typically avoid building on hillsides, and available flat land is limited. While rural areas often attract manufacturers seeking lower costs through inexpensive labor and land, West Virginia lacks accessible land for development. The weakness of the manufacturing sector has disproportionate effects because it offers higher-paying, middle-class jobs compared to other rural economic sectors. West Virginia's reliance on lower-income sectors exacerbates this disparity. Additionally, agriculture, a major rural economic sector, faces challenges due to the state's rugged terrain. West Virginia's geography presents both obstacles and predictable patterns for economic development. While in the western United States, one typically encounters massive mountains with expansive valleys in between, providing ample space for larger towns and productive agriculture, in West Virginia, both the scale and the available space are reduced. Consequently, towns tend to emerge on flat sections of riverbanks, with most valleys featuring a single road lined with houses, known as hollows. The hills, which often surround these hollows, are either scarred by defunct coal mines or remain untouched wilderness. This geographical setup has significant implications. Crop farming in West Virginia, particularly the type that relies on extensive flatland, is limited. The small amount of crop farming that does occur is primarily concentrated in the flatter eastern and northern regions. Instead, the state focuses more on cattle and poultry farming, which require less land and yield higher value per unit of land. However, even these farms tend to be small in size. While approximately 11% of agricultural sales across the U.S. come from farms generating less than $250,000 a year, in West Virginia, this figure stands at 29%. The presence of hills restricts the expansion of farms, a limitation exacerbated by the shift towards larger agribusiness operations like Cobalt Cattle's Kismet, Kansas branch. The dominance of agribusiness is driven by the economies of scale it offers, allowing for lower production costs. However, such large-scale operations are incompatible with West Virginia's terrain. Consequently, small family farms in the state are facing challenges as they are forced to sell their produce at lower prices while dealing with high operating costs, thus shrinking profit margins. This trend has contributed to a decline in the state's cattle inventory, which is now nearly half of its historical peak. While other regions also have geographical constraints that limit agriculture or industry, West Virginia's lack of urban centers exacerbates its economic challenges. With its largest city, Charleston, boasting a population of only 47,000, the state lacks the wealthier urban areas found in most states. This absence of urban wealth results in a lack of economic spillover into rural areas through taxes, industry development, and consumer spending. However, neighboring states like Kentucky benefit from having urbanized areas that contribute to economic growth. Therefore, the very factor that hinders the state's manufacturing and agriculture sectors can be a valuable asset for another industry: tourism. West Virginia has long recognized this potential, exemplified by destinations like Snowshoe, home to the Mid-Atlantic's largest ski resort. With its high elevation and expansive slopes, Snowshoe offers one of the best skiing experiences within a 4-hour drive from Washington, D.C. The resort, along with other outdoor attractions in the surrounding area, not only draws weekend tourists, but also attracts tens of thousands who have invested in vacation homes, further boosting spending in the state. However, despite the tourism industry's potential, areas like Pocahontas County, where the resort is located, still struggle with income and poverty levels close to the state average, indicating that tourism alone may not be a panacea. While tourism can generate significant revenue, much of the employment it creates is in the service sector, where wages are often comparable to those in other rural industries. Opportunities for upward mobility into middle-class incomes are limited for individuals working as waiters, lift operators, or housekeepers. Moreover, experiences in other tourism-dependent economies have shown that successful industry growth can lead to rising living costs, offsetting wage gains. The state of West Virginia is exploring alternative strategies, such as attracting remote workers, developing industrial parks, and seeking funding for mine cleanup efforts. However, efforts to transition away from coal dependency have been ongoing for decades without substantial success. While there are economically challenging landscapes across the globe, human migration tends to follow economic incentives. West Virginia initially saw population growth alongside the coal industry, but with the decline of coal, the state struggles to support industries that offer livable wages, leaving its population in a state of survival. Places like Appalachia serve as warnings of the future consequences if policymakers overlook the downstream effects of transitioning to a greener energy grid. While the coal industry is on a declining trajectory due to competition from renewable energy sources like solar power, similar challenges may arise with other fossil fuels. In democratic systems, the lack of solutions in regions like West Virginia poses a political barrier to further decarbonization efforts. Economic transition is not only morally imperative, but also crucial for achieving ambitious climate goals. Successfully developing a viable rural economy in West Virginia could offer hope for other fossil fuel-dependent regions like Texas, Wyoming, and North Dakota. However, the reluctance to let go of fossil fuel industries stems from a pragmatic concern for self-preservation, despite its regressive appearance. The decline in Appalachian coal production is multifaceted, with one major factor being changes in industry operations that favor production in western states like Wyoming, where costs are more competitive. In conclusion, the economic disparities between regions like Loudoun County, Virginia, and West Virginia underscore the complex challenges faced by different parts of the United States. While some areas thrive on industries like government contracting and tourism, others grapple with the legacy of declining coal production and geographical limitations. Addressing these disparities requires comprehensive strategies that acknowledge the diverse needs and potentials of each region. Thank you for joining us for exploring the stark economic disparities between Loudoun County, Virginia, the wealthiest county in the United States, and West Virginia, a state grappling with decline and economic struggles.